My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 24 years old, and I'm the CEO of Bennett Dynamics, a tech company worth $2 billion. But before I tell you how I built an empire, I need to tell you about the night I found out the man I loved was never in love with me at all. He was in love with my company's source code. If you're new here, stay till the end, because this story still gives me chills every time I tell it. 3 years ago, I was nobody. I was a 21-year-old computer science dropout living in a one-bedroom apartment in Austin, Texas, coding an AI-based logistics platform on a laptop that overheated every 40 minutes. My father had died when I was 19, leaving me almost nothing but his old toolbox and a stubborn belief that I could build something that mattered. I didn't come from money. I came from debt, ramen noodles, and 4 a.m. coding sessions fueled by gas station coffee. But somewhere in those sleepless nights, I built something special, an algorithm that could predict supply chain failures before they happened. Fortune 500 companies were losing millions every year to shipping delays and inventory mismatches. My software fixed that. By the time I turned 23, Bennett Dynamics had 300 employees, a Manhattan headquarters, and a valuation that made Forbes put me on their 30 under 30 list. I should have been the happiest woman alive. And for a while, I was, until Daniel Cross walked into my life. I met Daniel at a charity gala in Soho. He was tall, effortlessly charming, with that kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. He told me he ran a boutique investment firm called Crossgate Capital, that he'd grown up in Connecticut, old money, private schools, the whole picture. He didn't seem impressed by my wealth, which, ironically, is exactly what impressed me. I don't care what your company is worth, he told me on our second date, over wine at a rooftop bar overlooking the Hudson. I care what kind of person built it. God, I believed him completely. For 8 months, Daniel was everything I thought I wanted. He remembered that I took my coffee with oat milk, not almond. He showed up at my office with soup when I had the flu, sat with me for 3 hours while I cried about missing my father on his birthday. He made me feel like Sophia the person, not Sophia the CEO. He proposed the idea of moving in together in month 6. I said yes almost instantly. Looking back now, I realize how fast that was, how convenient it was for someone who needed access to more than just my apartment. The first thing that felt off happened in April. I was in the middle of finalizing a partnership with a major retail chain, a deal worth almost $400 million over 5 years. It was confidential. Even most of my own board members didn't know the specific terms yet. Only myself, my chief technology officer Marcus Webb, and my lawyer knew the full details. One night, Daniel asked me, almost too casually, while we were cooking dinner together, "So how's the retail deal going?" "Heard it's a big one." I remember pausing with the knife in my hand. "How did you know about that?" He laughed it off. "Babe, you talk in your sleep sometimes. You mumble about work constantly." I laughed too. I let it go. Because when you love someone, you want to believe them. You build explanations for them before your gut even finishes forming the question. But a week later, it happened again. This time it was about our AI patent filing, something that was still sitting, unfiled, in a locked folder on my work laptop. Daniel mentioned it during a dinner with his business friends, almost as if he were showing off that he knew things about my company that even our own investors didn't. That night, something in me, the same something that had built a company out of nothing, started paying attention. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I did what I do best. I started investigating quietly, the same way I debug code, line by line, assumption by assumption. I began noticing small things. Daniel's laptop was always locked, even at home, even when he stepped away for 5 minutes. He'd take calls on the balcony, speaking low, switching to a strange, clipped tone I'd never heard him use before. Twice, I saw a name pop up on his phone screen, R. Whitmore. I didn't know that name. But I would come to know it very well. One evening, when Daniel was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I know how this looks. I'm not proud of checking someone's phone. But when your gut has been screaming at you for 3 weeks straight, you stop caring about looking proud. The notification was from Signal, an encrypted messaging app. All I saw was a preview. R. Whitmore, any update on the AI architecture docs? Clients getting impatient. My stomach dropped through the floor. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. I already understood, in that instant, more than I wanted to. The next morning, after Daniel left for a meeting, I did what any founder with resources does when she smells betrayal. I called in a favor. Marcus, my CTO, had a friend who ran corporate cybersecurity investigations, the kind of quiet, expensive firm that companies hire when they suspect internal leaks but can't go to the police yet. Within 48 hours, they had a name, Rowan Whitmore, Vice President of Innovation at Hallbrook Systems, our single biggest competitor in AI-driven logistics software. Hallbrook had been trying, and failing, to build a product that could compete with Bennett Dynamics for over a year. Their stock had been slipping. Their investors were losing patience. And Crossgate Capital, Daniel's supposed investment firm? It didn't exist. Not officially. There was a shell company registered under that name, but it had no clients, no filings, no office. It was a front. Daniel Cross wasn't an investor. Daniel Cross was a corporate operative, hired, or perhaps promised a very large payout, to get close to me, gain my trust, move into my life, and slowly extract the intellectual property that had taken me 3 years and my father's memory to build. 8 months of I love you. 8 months of soup when I was sick, of remembering my coffee order, of holding me while I cried about my dad. All of it, engineered. All of it, a job. I sat on my office floor that night, not crying, just very, very still. There's a specific kind of quiet that comes right before you decide to fight back. That was where I was. I didn't scream at him. I didn't throw his belongings out the window like every part of me wanted to. Instead, I did something far more dangerous. I smiled at him the next morning like nothing had changed. You see, I've learned something running a company. You never confront a threat before you understand its full shape. You gather everything first. Then you strike once, decisively. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the unsuspecting girlfriend. I kept talking about work accidentally in front of him, except now, everything I mentioned was fake. A fabricated partnership with a company that didn't exist. A fictional breakthrough in our AI model that would supposedly make our software twice as fast. False information, planted carefully, like breadcrumbs designed for a very specific rat. Meanwhile, my legal team and cybersecurity firm quietly built an ironclad case, screenshots of the signal messages, obtained legally through a subpoena once we had enough for probable cause, financial records connecting the shell company to Hallbrook Systems, and testimony from a former Hallbrook employee who confirmed that Rowan Whitmore had bragged in a meeting about having an inside source close to Bennett Dynamics. 10 days after I planted the fake information, it appeared, nearly word for word, in a leaked internal memo from Hallbrook Systems that our legal team obtained through a whistleblower on their own team, a junior engineer horrified by what she'd stumbled onto. That was the final piece. Daniel had taken my fake secret straight to Hallbrook. There's a certain kind of justice that only makes sense if you understand irony. Daniel had first told me he loved me at a charity gala. So I decided that's where the truth would come out too. Bennett Dynamics was hosting our annual Innovation Summit, 600 guests, including investors, tech journalists, half of Silicon Valley's elite, and, unknowingly, Rowan Whitmore himself, who had been invited months earlier as part of an industry-wide guest list before any of this had unraveled. Daniel, of course, was there too, playing the doting boyfriend, standing proudly by my side in his tailored navy suit. I gave my usual opening speech about innovation and resilience. Then, instead of transitioning into the product showcase like the agenda promised, I paused. Before I move forward, I said into the microphone, my voice steadier than I expected, I want to talk about something this company values above almost everything else, trust. I watched Daniel's smile falter, just slightly, from the corner of my eye. Trust is fragile, I continued. It's also exactly what someone tried to exploit inside this room, over the past 8 months. The screen behind me lit up. Not with slides about our software. With something else entirely, timestamped signal messages between our Whitmore and a phone number registered to Daniel Cross. Financial documents linking Crossgate Capital to a Hallbrook Systems shell account. And finally, side-by-side comparisons of the false innovation I had planted in a private conversation with Daniel, and the nearly identical language that appeared, 10 days later, in a leaked Hallbrook internal memo. The room went utterly silent. Then it erupted. I didn't look at Daniel yet. I let the evidence speak first. Only after the murmurs settled did I turn toward him, standing frozen by the edge of the stage, his face drained of all its practiced charm. Daniel, I said, calm as still water, would you like to explain to everyone here how corporate espionage tastes, now that it's on the menu? Security, who I had quietly briefed an hour earlier, moved in before he could even form a sentence. Rowan Whitmore, 3 tables back, looked like he might be sick. The story broke across every major tech outlet within hours. Billionaire CEO Sophia Bennett exposes corporate espionage plot at her own gala, trended for 3 straight days. Hallbrook Systems stock dropped nearly 40% within a week as investors panicked over the exposed scandal and the lawsuits that followed. Their board forced Rowan Whitmore out within 72 hours. Bennett Dynamics filed a corporate espionage lawsuit that would eventually settle for a sum large enough to fund an entire new research division. Daniel Cross disappeared from public life almost entirely. The last I heard, he'd moved back to whatever anonymous life he'd had before Crossgate Capital ever existed. No more tailored suits, no more rooftop bars, no more borrowed charm paid for by someone else's corporate budget. People ask me sometimes if I regret falling for him. If I regret the 8 months, the vulnerability, the tears I cried into a chest that was never really holding me, it was holding a contract. Here's what I tell them, I don't regret it. Because that heartbreak taught me something my success never could, how to separate the people who love me from the people who love what I built. And more than that, it proved something I already suspected but hadn't fully trusted yet, that I am capable of protecting everything I built, with my mind just as sharply as I built it in the first place. Bennett Dynamics is worth more today than it was the night I exposed Daniel. Not because revenge is profitable, though in this case, it certainly didn't hurt, but because that experience forced me to rebuild my company's security culture from the ground up. Every partnership now goes through triple verified channels. Every new relationship in my life, personal or professional, moves at a pace that protects what my father's memory helped me build. I still believe in love. I'm not bitter, despite what 8 months of manufactured affection might make a person become. But I've learned that real love doesn't need access to your locked files. Real love doesn't ask casual questions about confidential retail deals over a cutting board of vegetables. Real love isn't a shell company with your name on the paperwork. If someone truly loves you, they'll want access to your heart, not your hard drive. My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 24 years old. I run a $2 billion company that a corporate spy tried to dismantle from the inside, and I'm the woman who caught him, exposed him, and built something even stronger from the wreckage he left behind. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this story, it's this: never underestimate a woman who has already survived losing everything once. She knows exactly how to survive it twice. Smash that like button if this story shocked you, subscribe so you never miss the next twist, and comment below, what would you have done in her situation? Let's talk in the comments.